Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
The Marco Dre Show, when it's Friday, December 12th, 2025. Thank you again for tuning in today's show to hear all the relevant, groundbreaking news here in America and around the world. The only show where the facts are facts and hard truths thrive. Please don't forget to follow the show wherever you might get your podcast. It's available now on all streaming apps for your listening pleasures. And be sure to share the show with as many people as possible so we can make thinking great again right here in America. Hope everyone's ready for the best hour radio has to offer, uncensored and ready to go as always. It's Friday, so you know it's time for our weekly economic report. And let's delve right into it. Let's see what's going on in the stock market first. And I got to tell you, while things seem to be a little bit mixed right now, overall the stock market is doing just fine. S&P 500 fell 0.9% today. NASDAQ declined 1.3%. Dow Jones was last trading down 183 points, or 0.4%, although yesterday was all-time daily highs. So why is this happening? Well, we look at Broadcom, which is very closely linked to NASDAQ, has been bogged down by 10% drops right now. So we have a margin of compression worries, of course. Then we look at things like AI, trading at AMD, Palantir, Micron, also seeing some losses alongside Broadcom. So again, we're seeing a little bit of a mixed market. We have other stocks in areas such as financials, healthcare, industrials receiving a little bit of a boost today. And again, we have sectors like Visa, MasterCard, United Healthcare, GE Aerospace were also winners as a result of the end today. Lululemon, by the way, shares are up 10%, announcing a new CEO. Maybe it has something to do with the stocks jumping today. Yeah, it does happen at times. A little trade in who's running the company. Sometimes people feel a little bit more bullish about them. So again, we're seeing a little mixed reviews across the board, but overall, things are fairly stable. We'll look at things like Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin is trading at $90,000, $363.89, just slightly lower, about 0.5% lower from last week. Nvidia trading at $176.81 today, down quite a bit, down 2.28% from last week. So again, we're seeing a little shifts in these tech companies as well. That's expected right now, especially with the interest rates cuts. So again, we're going to see the market grow as a result of this regardless, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But everything's fairly stable this week. Unemployment, 4.4%, nothing out of the ordinary there. That was set back in September. Labor has not changed since. Remember, it's been down since, it's been up since earlier this year when Trump took office. It was 4%. Now it's staying roughly around 4.4%. Oh, and by the way, oil. We have Brent crude trading at $61.43 per barrel. Earlier last year, at the end of the year this time, trading at $83.63 per barrel. WTI trading between $57.88 and $58.09 today. Last year, that was $80.59 per barrel. So we know this is a result of OPEC producing more. We know this. They announced it in September. They wanted to increase production by 547,000 barrels per day. So again, we have an increase of supply. And as you know, because you listen to my show, Basic Economics 101, when demand stays the same and supply increases, the price will naturally drop. Again, we have more supply. And again, right now we have a lot of supply in the United States. President Trump has increased drilling right here. We have more oil in circulation. But again, we also have the world economies in recessions as well. Just look at Europe right now. So all those things are factoring into the overall price and how it's being traded. We're seeing gas prices go down in America. pretty much across the board. The national average right now is $2.90 to roughly $2.95 per gallon. Just a not in California, of course, thanks to Gavin Newsom, of course, the Democrats up in Sacramento, pushing higher gas taxes on Californians. They're paying roughly $4.41 on the state average. Well, we know it's higher in places like Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, Orange County, these metropolitan hubs. So nothing out of the ordinary there. And again, they're paying anywhere from $1.40 to $1.50 more. Can you believe that? Again, it's all policy. It's all policy coming out of Sacramento. Again, the state's gas tax alone is up 90 cents. Can you believe that? 90 cents is their gas tax. Then you got to figure they add in the environmental regulations. You have the fact that anything coming from outside of the state, because we're seeing refineries starting to close down in the state of California, they're moving. Anything has to be shipped in now because of the limited amount of pipelines California will allow in. We have climate regulations in California as well. So all these factors add up to you paying a higher gas tax. And again, a higher gas price overall. Again, which is funny to me because California has some of the best climate in the world. Yet they have all these special blends for the certain times of year. It's really ridiculous when you think about it. Again, we want a cleaner atmosphere, cleaner environment. We all want that. But why can't you produce it in the state? Why do you have to put such a high gas tax on your citizenry? Oh, I know, it's to build the roads. Oh, yeah, I've heard that line before. Yeah, back when that was implemented back in 2018, guess how many roads were built since then? If you think about it, California should have the best infrastructure in the entire country. That's completely not the case. It's second to last still. Oh, by the way, the real winner today, I got to tell you, gold. Trading at $4,341 per ounce, up 2.7% just from yesterday's closing, and up 39% from a year ago. I echoed this to you recently, of course, that the Trends Journal forecast has stated that if gold stays above $4,200 per ounce for the next couple months, it will continue to increase from there. So it's a good time to be bullish in gold. Again, I'm not giving you advice. I'm just a radio talk show host, folks. But I'm telling you what is being reported. What's the trend here? What's going to happen with this? Again, if you're going to invest, I always talk to you about getting a financial planner. So always consult with somebody before you invest. That's just my way of telling it to you. This isn't me giving you advice. I'm just telling you, take a look at gold. Take a look at the investment people are making in gold. And by the way, silver, all-time new time trading high, $64.40 per ounce, up 3.4% from yesterday, up 108% from this time last year in December. One of the strongest performing commodities of 2025 is silver. So a lot to be bullish on there. Again, I always tell you before you invest, sit down and talk with a professional. See what's right for you. Again, that's not me telling you what to do. I'm not giving any financial advice. I'm just telling you these are what people that study this are saying. So it's something to look into. Oh, by the way, AP News has stated that the U.S. jobs benefit applications have jumped to 236,000 last week as concerns about the labor market persist. So while we look at what's happening on Wall Street, what's happening on Main Street as well, folks. How's this affecting you? We have the U.S. job claims applications for the week ending December 6th climbed by 44,000 to 236,000 from the previous week's 192,000. The Labor Department reported last Thursday. That's more than any analyst's forecast of 213,000 new applications. The previous week's figure, analysts say, was distorted by the Thanksgiving holiday. So these applications for unemployment aid are viewed as a proxy for layoffs and, of course, are very close to a real-time indicator of the health of the actual job market. So again, we've gone over this on the show. Week after week, I'll tell you, hey, this company's cutting, 15,000 jobs laid off. This company, 30,000 layoffs. This, it keeps going on, and this adds up. It adds up over time. So while we're looking at the strength of Wall Street, that seems to be in pretty good hands, what's really happening on Main Street? What's happening in your communities? Are we seeing a lot of growth? Are we seeing a lot of investment? The answer, unless, of course, you're in one of these growing hubs, is probably no. Now, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said that the committee reduced borrowing costs out of the concern that the job market is even weaker than it appears. While government data shows that the economy has added a sluggish 40,000 jobs since April. That's not great. Powell said that the figure could be revised lower as much as 60,000. That would mean employers have actually been shedding an average of 20,000 jobs a month since the spring. I told you this before. I'll say it to you again. If President Trump does not fix this economy, if things do not start turning around soon, you can forget about the midterms in 2026. Doesn't matter what he runs on. Doesn't matter who invests in the United States. If he cannot fix the economy, and that means for Main Street, not just Wall Street. We want both to be successful, of course. I told you on yesterday's show, it does take time. I understand he inherited a mess. Don't get me wrong. Don't misunderstand me. I understand that President Trump inherited a mess from Joe Biden. We had 4 years of relatively zero growth. Lots and lots of spending. We had lots of dragflation. That's what they call it. High prices, high inflation, and low economic output. That was the United States for 4 years. Oh, I know they told you they created 13 million jobs. Yeah, right. Come on. Who are they fooling? But this is the reality. This is the situation he's in, and this is what he has to focus on. Him and Scott Bessent need to get this moving. Because people are sitting around going, hey, we elected you to fix the economy, and things are getting worse. There's more layoffs. There's now more talk of AI. This isn't 2017 anymore. I told you before, AI can replace anywhere from 11.7% of all the jobs in the United States right now. So what does that mean for those people? Will they just sit on the unemployment line? There's got to be an alternative, and Trump has got to find a way to, again, get people hired and invest in manufacturing, I said, was something that's very, very important. But look at this. As last week, private payroll data from the firm ADP estimated U.S. job losses of 32,000 just in the month of November. And again, this surprisingly weak report comports with recent government employee data as well. So we've got to look at things. We look at things like, obviously, the tariffs. People are unsure if they should hire, if they should hold back, if they should increase price. All these things are a result of the tariffs, in some regards, of course. It's as though September had a solid gain of 119,000 jobs. June and August both showed net job losses. The unemployment rate has reached up to 4.4%, the highest level in 4 years. He's got a lot to do. He's only got about a couple months. If it doesn't get fixed by roughly March, April, people are going to remember this, and they're going to really, they're going to go with the Democratic Party, which again is ridiculous. But what are the Republicans offering? Let's think about that. What are they offering us? I mean, are we getting the investments? We've been talking about the $21 trillion in investments. Where is it? Trump is a very big show and tell person. Where is this investment? He said the economy is at 8 plus the other day. Really? I'm not seeing that. Are you seeing that? Are you feeling that? We still have inflation up 3% from last year. And again, while we always shoot for, a 2% year-over-year inflation, we got to understand something. Inflation under Joe Biden hit anywhere from 25 to 30%. So prices are very much inflated still right now. We've got to get those prices down across the board. And yes, the energy sector is greatly coming down. I understand that for the reasons I explained to you right now. But we've got to get this economy under control. We've got to invest in America. We've got to start seeing change. We've got to start seeing opportunity. When you see people getting in the unemployment line, and then you hear from President Trump that we're going to usher in, more H-1B visas to good-paying jobs, I mean, to me, that's just mind-boggling to me. How the hell do you do that? You say, well, we don't have the talent here. Remember he said that to Laura Ingraham? I couldn't even believe it. I was eating dinner watching. I couldn't even believe it. The food almost fell out of my mouth. I said, what are you talking about? We don't have the talent here. We have some of the best tech schools in the world right here in the United States. 6 of the top 10 are in the United States. You're telling me we don't have the talent here? We graduate about 150 engineers every single year, and we're going to bring in more engineers from India and China? Again, it makes no sense to me. Makes absolutely no sense to me. I understand it. They want the cheaper labor, but does that work for you? Does that work for anybody? You're in all this debt, and then you can't even get a job? You're going to bring in somebody from another country to take it? I told you before, we've got to put America first. We've got to stop with this nonsense, especially what's been going on abroad. We'll talk about that later in the program today. But he's got to focus on the economy. That should be number one. That should be everything everyone's doing. Focus on the economy. Where can we get this money invested? Where can we put this money into? How can we save people more money? All these things are legitimate things to ask, of course, of your government. They should be looking at that. And for some reason, again, I have no idea why you would increase the number of H-1B visas. I don't even know why you'd bring in H-1B visas into the United States right now. We don't need it. This isn't 1900 anymore, where we needed to bring in lots of people to come in and work in factories. We don't need it anymore. There are plenty of people here. You have plenty of talent here. Again, I told you we have the best engineering schools in the world right here in the United States. And that brings me to another point. If you have the talent here, which we do, why would we bring in people from abroad to come to these universities and take the spots of Americans? That's another question you have to ask yourself. He wanted to bring in 600,000 Chinese. What do you think? They're not going to spy in the United States? Come on. Let's get real here, folks. We've got to focus on America. We've got to focus on building the American economy with Americans. That's the only way you can work on this. Otherwise, what's the point of going to school? What, are you just going to get passed up because you're from America? And I love it. You're bringing H-1B visas. They have a job already set up for them. And you're told to, I guess, hang out at your parents' house? Does that sound like the American dream is working for you? And then you wonder why people vote for Mum Dummy. I mean, he's going to screw up in New York City, don't get me wrong. But this is why people vote for that. Because even though it's garbage, what he's offering, at least he's offering them something. What do we have to offer here? You've got to make incentives. You've got to show people, look, we're working for you. We're going to fix this economy. It's going to grow. And again, I hope it does grow. This is why we elected Donald Trump. But right now, he's not showing us a whole hell of a lot, unfortunately. And by the way, look at this. This is in Zero Hedge. Came out last week. 1 in 4 unemployed Americans has a college degree. Yep, there it is. So again, you have people going to school, doing what they feel, and they've been told, by the way. You know, it's been hammered in their heads. Go to college, you'll be fine. You'll be employed. Everything's going to be great. And then what do you find out when you leave your engineering school? Oh, well, we're going to bring in 130,000 people to take these jobs. Better luck next year. I mean, for a young person, obviously it's very frustrating. But I mean, look at this. You get in, what, $100,000, $200,000 worth of debt? And you're told the job's going elsewhere? It's mind-boggling. It really is. There's a time and a place for immigration. There's a time and place to bring in people to work. Now is not that time. Especially when you have 45 million illegals in the country. When you have 55 million illegal visa holders still in the country. Now's not the time to start bringing in people. Just thought I'd share that point with you. But again, I found this statistic shocking to me. 1 in 4 unemployed Americans has a college degree. So what was the purpose of the degree? What's the purpose of the program? That's 1.9 million unemployed college graduates on the market right now. Again, the September data show little or no change of that from August in major industries to which young degree holders typically gravitate. This is why Mamdani won. I'm going to tell you how it is. This is why he won. Because they don't believe in the American dream anymore. They don't believe in what their parents, their teachers, the ruling elite had told them to do. This is why. Then you have a young guy close to your age offering you this. I'll give you this. I'll give you that. We'll do this. And they say, I got nothing else. I have no opportunity. I'm told I don't have enough talent. I'm told better luck next year. Americans need not apply. Hell, I'll take a rent freeze. I'll take a free grocery store. Free bus ride? Why the hell not? Got nothing better to do. I mean, this is the problem with all this. The immigration's got to get under control. The H-1B visa program should be eliminated, in my estimation. But this is why you're losing young people, folks. They see this, they hear this, they say, what was the point of all that? Why did I go to school for 4 years? If you're just going to bring in people from abroad. Maybe I should go study in India then, and come in that way. This is the problem with everything that's going on. Our priorities are backwards. And again, it's showing, especially in how young people are voting. Oh, by the way, this is another problem as well. This is in Fox Business. It says mortgage rates tick higher, but remain near 2025 lows. Well, for 2025, that's not saying too much. It says the average rate on the benchmark 30-year fixed mortgage rate rose to 6.22%, says Freddie Mac. So what, you're a young guy, gal, you want to buy a home? How are you going to do that? You have student loan debt? And now you're going to get a home loan for 6.22%? Still very high, unfortunately. But this is the problem. You're young, you're ambitious, you're ready to settle down, and you can't find work. You're staying at home. Then you find a job and you say, well, I'd love to get that, get that house, wife, children, all that. And then you come to find out, well, hey, I can't afford this. Because my student loan debt is God knows how much, So what, you're settled with what, $100,000 worth of debt from student loans, roughly? Depending on what field you're in? I mean, that alone is something big to take on. Then you're going to try to get a house. The average house in America is about over $500,000. And you know damn well you're going to be bidding on it with other people. So again, people see this. They say, hey, I can't make it. I can't do this. Now, is the housing market going to get better? What you're probably asking yourself. Is it going to get better? Well, the answer is if these rates come down, at least it will ease some of the pricing. I said this to you before, though, too. Never forget this. When you have 45 million illegals in the country, 55 million illegal visa holders in the country, they have to have housing, right? So think about this. They're taking up a third, roughly, of the housing. Do you have any idea how much of a strain that's putting on the housing market? A lot. A hell of a lot. And that's why the prices of the housing are so inflated right now. One, because people that shouldn't be here are here, and they're taking up the housing that your children or your grandchildren would take. And as a result of it, they're being priced out of their own market that they should be investing in. Again, all by design too, folks. It says here, Freddie Mac's latest data comes a day after the Federal Reserve lowered the benchmark interest rate by 25 base points to a new range of 3.5%. Yep. To 3.75%. The move follows rate cuts of that size in September and October, which were the first of the year. Was this the right time to cut rates, though? Or did Jerome Powell fumble the ball in this one, too? It says here, mortgage rates are not directly affected by the Fed's interest rate decision, but closely track the 10-year yield. Treasury yield, excuse me. The 10-year yield hovered around 4.15% as of Thursday afternoon. Well, he probably cut rates too late. That's what's being touted right now. Don't take my word for it. This was the former World Bank president, David Malpass, saying just that.
They've been talking about cuts, but the 10-year yield is stuck above 4%, and that means mortgage rates are too high. They have to change the model, the concept of what they're doing with financial markets to give more assurance that they're defending the dollar. That way, the whole yield curve can come down. It's called a price rule monetary policy. Right now, what they do is inflation targeting, which has been wrong for 30 years. It's just a model that doesn't work. So if they shifted, then you could have 10-year yield lower as they lower the short-term interest rates. There's no reason the U.S. economy, as strong as it is, should be paying this high an interest rate across the board. That it's because people don't trust the...
Kids.
Okay. So what he's saying here basically is that Jerome Powell screwed everything up. He waited too long, and as a result, the market is affected in such a way. And again, why are we resorting to old models that are 50 years old? They're outdated models. And again, the delay in the cuts are slowing the growth, keeping mortgage rates particularly high, and again, threatening the strength of the U.S. economy. Remember, I never forget I told you this too, by the way. Once you have these cuts come in play, you're going to have more money. You're going to have people getting more loans, more favorable loans, and that effect. People are going to start investing more as these rates start to come down. So Powell should have cut it, again, unless he knows something that everyone else doesn't know. I don't know. But he probably waited too long, is what I'm suggesting to you. So never forget, though, more money is going to be in the M1 money supply. That's all the money that we have in the country right now. And once more money comes in to supply, right? What did we just talk about with the oil? You have the same amount of people, same amount of money coming in. Actually, more money coming in. You have more dollars chasing the same amount of goods. What's going to happen to those prices? They're probably going to go up a little bit, folks. Just thought I'd bring that up to you. So, Powell probably cut too late. That's really what the big takeaway there is as well. Oh, by the way, Americans, this might be something a positive for all of us to hear. So Newsweek says Americans to get refunds up to $2,000 next year is what Scott Bessent has said. This could be something to look forward to. You know, you get your money back that you have had confiscated from you. It's good. You might get some money back. But he said the refunds would come as a result of the tax cuts in President Trump's signature One Big Beautiful Bill Act. It says Newsweek has contacted the Treasury Department for comment outside this, and Bessent has stated, though, that Americans would get very large refunds next year, amounting anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 per American household. Stating further that it matters because the refunds outlined by Bessent could provide households with a significant boost in disposable income early next year. And again, that would represent one of the most tangible results of President Trump's signature tax legislation. So again, that's something I guess we could be happy about. You get to keep some of your money. Congratulations, folks. God knows how much of it has been wasted. But again, this comes as a plus, of course, that you're receiving more money back from the government. Oh, by the way, Obamacare. This is big. This is in the Gateway Pundit. It says Obamacare subsidies have been blocked. And yes, this is what we all voted for, of course. Obamacare is such a big failure, of course. The Affordable Care Act subsidies. This has been pushed through by the Senate. The Senate as a whole voted it down, though. And which ensures that the subsidies will lapse at the end of the year. A competing Republican bill, which has been given Americans up to $1,500 in tax-free health care accounts rather than extending the subsidies, also failed after Rand Paul voted with the Democrats. Republicans argue that the Democrats' plan ignored the fraud and the rising federal cost, while Democrats say the GOP proposal offers inadequate coverage. So what is right here? That's a big question here. What's going on here? What's right? The problem with this whole program, and it's like that with any government program. Don't think that it's not, of course. But here's the problem with all this. They create this program, and the amount of fraud that's taken place has been wasting so much of the taxpayer dollars. If you got to get a program to, again, help people pay for insurance, that might not sound like a bad thing, of course. We want people to be insured. But the problem is you have to increase taxes or you have to print out more money. One of the two. Both of those are bad. Why not work with insurance companies and the healthcare system to actually just bring down the cost? That's the big problem. That's absolutely problem number one. The other big problem, I've said this to you several times, I'll say it again, and I sound like a broken record sometimes, but this is why these problems are out of control. When you have illegal aliens acquiring health care in this country, and they go to the emergency room, they don't have to pay anything, and then you go to your checkup, to the emergency room, for a procedure, or what have you. And you're like, wow, this bill's pretty high. I can't believe it. My insurance isn't covering all this. It used to be $500, now it's $1,000. Well, who do you think's paying for the illegal aliens? It's you. The person that's paying the bill. Someone's got to make up that difference. So the cost comes on the insurance companies now. Right? They negotiate. And they say, hey, we've got to pay this, all these costs, the electricity, the buildings, everything. Everything's got to be paid for. And guess who's going to pay for it now? You, the person paying for it. So when Gavin Newsom, and people like Gavin Newsom, come out and say, hey, we're going to allocate, $250 million for illegal aliens to get health care, they already get free health care. All they have to do is go to the emergency room. They can't be turned away. But look at this, too. We've also got fraud in the system as well. And again, that puts more money into the insurance companies and, of course, the healthcare providers themselves, so-called. But we found so many problems with this. And here it says the Republicans opposed the Democrat extension bill on 3 grounds. 1, the extensive evidence of fraud. That was number 1. We talked about that. The flow of money to insurance companies. We talked about that as well. And the lack of reforms in this bill as a whole. A preliminary Government Accountability Office investigation identified a widespread number of vulnerabilities. What did they find? Well, they found the fabricated use of invalid Social Security numbers, and every fake applicant was approved for subsidized coverage in late 2024, with 90% still approved in 2025. Why? Because we have no one checking the system for government malfeasance. Now we have an additional findings including $21 billion in subsidies paid in 2023 without tax reconciliation. You had 58,000 Social Security numbers receiving subsidies that matched death records. You see how this rot runs deep, folks? $94 million in subsidies paid on behalf of deceased individuals. Where do you think that money's going? And one Social Security number used for 71 years across 125 policies. Now you see the fraud in Minnesota, right? You see how the fraud is running wild, and nobody's checking the system. So now we have the Government Accountability Office now reporting that 12 million enrollees in 2024 filed 0 medical claims. There it is. Republicans argue that these failures now demonstrate the need for strict verification and, of course, major reforms as a whole. Republicans also objected, by the way, to the subsidies benefit insurance companies directly, since the Affordable Care Act law now allows insurers to keep 20% of payments as an overhead and profit. Senate Majority Leader John Thune emphasized that the GOP alternative would have provided funds directly to the patients. Now we can argue if that's a good thing or not. Thune further criticized Democrats for proposing a 3-year extension without addressing the rising system cost. Again, here's the problem. Insurance companies, healthcare providers, they hear, hey, you're going to get $2,000 from the government? Really? Just for healthcare? No kidding. Oh. Well, your bill's going to be $2,000 higher now. That's how all these things work, folks. So the idea that government's even involved in healthcare in and of itself is completely stupid. Unless you have government running the entire thing, which I think is a terrible idea, socialized healthcare. It's a terrible thing. Go look how it works in Canada or Cuba or just anywhere else it's implemented. It's a complete mess. The UK. The government should have no say in any of this. This is the problem with all this. Look at this. The Republicans also cite from the Congressional Budget Office estimates 1.2 million non-citizen became eligible for taxpayer-funded subsidies. Those are people that aren't paying in the system due to earlier definitions of lawful presence. So you have people on the system getting money that are not paying into the system. You tell me how that makes any sense to anybody. Anytime you throw more money at something like this, right? You say, we're going to give you this money. This is your money because you filled out the application to be in the program. Anyone could be in the Affordable Care Act program too, folks. Despite, obviously, the law barring undocumented, well, illegal aliens from purchasing marketplace coverage or, again, receiving these subsidies, somehow you have 1.2 million non-citizens eligible for the program. Make it make sense. So Republicans arguing properly that the weak verification system allows people who are ineligible to obtain these subsidized plans. Again, with fake identities, fake social security numbers, you name it, they figured it out and they're getting a lot of money off it. We saw the same thing with the money from COVID. We saw people coming out with lots of money because they were scamming the system. As a result of it, you're paying for this or the government's printing it. Either way, you lose. So while it seems like, hey, the money can go to the patient can then pay for their hospital visit, their emergency visit, whatever it may be. How are you going to do this? How can you make it so there's no fraud in there? What if I just say, hey, I went to the hospital, I need this money now, guys. They say, oh, well, here's your $2,000 check now. There you go. Or, hey, I'm just going to give you this money and put it in a health account for you. The government should have no say in this. And once the government gets out of this, I think you'll see the market work itself out. Unfortunately, you probably will never, ever see that. So there's a problem in itself, folks. Illegal aliens in the system, the costs go up. People look at the government for help. The government comes in. Of course, that government's program gets ripped off. They have to allocate more money via higher taxation on you. And the system just repeats itself. Oh, now we're going to give you the money directly now. That'll work. Yeah, okay. Whatever. Okay. There's no change in that whatsoever. By the way, we've seen the cost of, the premiums for Americans going up since the Affordable Care Act took place, so I highly doubt it's affordable. Maybe it should be called the Non-Affordable Care Act. Maybe that would be a much more appropriate thing. Don't you? I think so. All right, folks. Moving on. We got a little bit of time left in the program. All right, look at this. Look at this. Yep. Sean Duffy. What's his name? Is it Sean Duffy? I can't remember what his name is. Duffy threatens to yank New York federal funds over illegally issuing commercial driver's license. We've seen this in California. We've seen it in other blue states as well. He's trying to withhold $73 million. He went to a... Yeah, it is Sean Duffy. I knew I was right. He warned that the government will yank the tens of millions of dollars from the state of New York if they don't come into compliance with the rules pertaining to granting proper commercial driver's license. We've seen this happen. We've seen what happens as a result of this. People are getting killed on the streets because they don't know how to operate these vehicles or they're completely negligent when they're utilizing them. But how do you have people that don't speak the language, even getting into the program, not being able to pass the requirements to get the license, but are still given the license? Ask Gavin Newsom that. But here we go. He's giving them 30 days to get in line. 53% of New York State's commercial driver's licenses were issued unlawfully or illegally. Again, this all comes down largely to the Biden administration, Pete Buttigieg, allowing all this nonsense to happen, of course. Just like we saw the influx of the southern border as a result of Biden and, of course, Alejandro Mayorkas. They were working on behalf of securing the border. They were working on behalf of the illegal aliens coming in the country. Well, the same thing goes here. Well, the illegal aliens get a fair shot, right, at getting their driver's license, working these jobs. First of all, they need to hold the companies accountable as well. That's what it needs to come down to. But they're getting this documentation fraudulently from the government. So we got to understand that it works both ways. It's not really just the companies themselves. It's the state of New York. It's the state of California. Or any other state that's been doing this, by the way. This problem happened because of the Democrats that run these states, or the federal government in that sense. You had millions of people coming in the country during the tenure of Biden and Buttigieg. And then here we are. The rules don't apply, apparently. They're giving it to people that can't even read the street signs. How is that possible? Do you think they do that for American citizens? I hope not. But again, these are the standards of the Democrats. So they're putting the Trump administration now is going to be putting pressure on these state governments that are not complying with federal immigration laws. The idea that you're going to give driver's license to illegal aliens, which again is completely illegal, by the way. They've got to come in and they've got to put pressure on these governments. And the only thing they respond to, of course, is losing money. Because they need the money because a lot of them are broke. New York is in the hole. California is definitely in the hole. I think as an overall, they're over $500 billion in the hole right now. Gavin Newsom's adding so much money every single year. By the time he leaves office, I think he'll add $72 billion to it. But this is the problem. They rely on this federal money. And as a result of it, they need it. So will this get them to comply with the federal law? Only time will tell what Kathy Hochul and Gavin Newsom do. But this has got to stop, folks. It's got to stop, for one, because, number one, it's illegal. All right? You don't get to just change the rules because you want to aid and abet illegal aliens. But we also need to keep people safe on our streets. If you have people getting a driver's license and they can't even understand what the street signs say, you're putting everybody on the roads, the freeways, at risk. And as a result of it, you're seeing a lot of these accidents claiming American lives. This has got to stop. So the Trump administration obviously needs to get to the bottom of who these illegals are. And hey, it's good rounds to round these people up and say bon voyage to them, I think. Don't you? I'm sure you do. Oh, by the way, talking about what's happening on the foreign front right now, this will make your head spin. This is in Breitbart. It says, time to prepare for World War-size conflict with Russia, is what the General Secretary of NATO is now warning. Can you believe this? At a time when President Trump is pushing for peace, you have these idiots in NATO coming out now and talking about going to war with Russia. A war that they cannot win, by the way. Just thought I'd bring that up to you as well. But this is shocking. And by the way, just so before we read this article together, in the NDAA, the baseline amount of aid going to Israel is $3.8 billion. They've also newly allocated another $500 million in the fiscal year of 2025. Extra to give to Israel, who's now in a war. They're supposed to be in a ceasefire, but they're still obviously attacking their neighbors, Lebanon, Syria, Gaza, the West Bank. All these things are happening right now. And in Ukraine, we're supposed to be discussing peace. President Trump has a 28-point peace plan out right now. Now it's being revised, of course, as one can imagine. But why are we allocating in 2026 $400 million each year for 2026 and 2027 under the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative? Why are we doing this? Well, again, I'm confused about this. We're supposed to be cutting ties with them. We're supposed to be ending this war, and yet we're giving them $400 million every year for what? Well, we haven't given them enough money. We've given them almost $350 billion. Biden would do the same thing. Oh, we're giving them this, $400 million, $500 million, $1 billion. And just it adds up over time, folks. We're broke. We're $38.3 trillion in debt. Yeah, we always seem to find money every year. Israel gets $3.8 billion. Now they're getting extra money. We've given them $20 billion this year alone. Yeah, it's mind-boggling to me. I don't know what to say about this. But now we're going to continue to give money to Ukraine when they refuse peace? We're going to continue to give money to Netanyahu's regime when he's defying the ceasefire President Trump and the Gulf Arab states put together, that he agreed to, by the way. And yet he's still attacking Lebanon, destroying the St. Peter Mausoleum in Lebanon that's been there for 2,000 years almost. Destroyed it. Yeah, no biggie. You know, in Taipei and the West Bank, yeah, they're setting fires to Christian churches. Yeah, they're uprooting olive trees. No biggie. And of course, what's happening behind the imaginary yellow line in Gaza, they're still killing Palestinians. You just haven't been hearing about it. Unless, of course, you've been listening to shows like mine. Why are we giving these countries money? It is going to bankrupt us, my friends. And by the way, these aren't the only two countries we give money to. We shouldn't be giving money to anybody. Of course, nobody gives us any money. That's a big problem as well. But this is troubling, again, to hear this from, obviously, one of the leaders of NATO. This would be Mark Rutte, saying in a speech in Berlin on Thursday that he implied a coming world war now, in a time when we should be talking about peace, and offering, of course, the alliance to deter Russia from empire building. This nonsense has been debunked time and time again. But he went on to say the importance of continuing to support Ukraine. Of course, they're all behind Ukraine, fighting this proxy war for them. Rutte said it was better to defeat Russia and have something to offer as a buffer zone, rather than directly meet Russia along the NATO border in Central Europe. Well, hey, Rutte, you guys have been expanding your border closer and closer and closer. Originally, it was a 12-member state. Now it's a 33-member state. You're the ones that have been interpreting and intercepting other countries in this, not the other way around. NATO should have been disbanded in 1991 when the Soviet Union collapsed. That's when the Warsaw Pact collapsed. They all disbanded. And we kept, again, taking up some of these nation states as a part of NATO. So now what? You have Finland on the border of Russia. Now it's a NATO state. And now, of course, you have Ukraine now. They're trying to push to get into NATO. You don't think Russia is going to respond as a result of that? I think so. But this was Rutte. This is him saying this just the other day. Take a listen.
Just imagine if Putin got his way. Ukraine under the boot of Russian occupation. His forces pressing against a longer border with NATO. And a significantly increased risk of an armed attack against us. It would require a truly gargantuan shift in our deterrence and defense. NATO would have to substantially increase its military presence along the eastern flank. And allies would have to go much further and faster on defense spending and production. In such a scenario, we would long for the days when 3.5% of GDP on core defense was enough. We need...
Okay, so you get the idea. He's pushing for a new conflict between the NATO nations and, of course, Russia and Russia's allies. This is what's coming down. So they want a new world war in Europe again. Can you believe this? When you have all these governments in recession, when the fabric of their societies is crumbling due to mass migration in their countries, they're going to send the native population to go, what, die in a war with Russia? Absolutely ridiculous to even consider this. And for what reason, by the way? What would be the reason for this? Well, they hate Russia, or what, do they hate their countries? Which one is it? Look, it says, going into the middle of the 21st century means wars no longer being fought at arm's length, with future conflicts happening at our door. If NATO fails to show Russia it is ready to fight, and thereby deter Russia from trying the scale of the war of our grandparents or great-grandparents endured. Well, first of all, World War I didn't need to happen as well, by the way. Neither did the Second World War. Just so we're all clear on that. When all else fails, they take you to war, is what Gerald Celente says, and he's absolutely right about this. These economies are in the toilet, and they're going to try to ramp up government spending into this war. That's how we got out of our depression, by the way. We went to war. Worked out really well for us, didn't it? Same old playbook every single time. Every single time. Vladimir Putin does not want to go into Europe, folks. He doesn't even want all of Ukraine. He wants the territories of the eastern oblasts inside Ukraine that have an ethnic Russian population, and he wants to make that part of Russia for their security. And of course, he wants Crimea because that's where the Russian fleet is, and it has been for quite some time. Putin is not afraid of this, though. And Putin is very ready for a war with all of Europe. Let's take a listen to this clip when he's asked about European aggression against Russia.
We are not planning to go to war with Europe. I've said that 100 times already. But if Europe suddenly wants to go to war with us and starts it, we are ready right now. There can be no doubt about that. The only question is, in what way? If Europe suddenly starts a war with us, I think it will be over very quickly. This isn't Ukraine. With Ukraine, we're acting in a surgical, careful manner, right? So that, well, you get it, right?
Okay. Yeah, we get it. We get it. The war of attrition is going on because Zelensky refuses to cede in the war, to cede any territory. There is no air defense over any of these European nations. Their armies cannot withstand what Russia can offer. They cannot withstand their missile weapon systems. Yeah, it would be over pretty quickly, wouldn't it? They'd be running to sign a peace treaty with Russia as a result of that. We've got to wake up, folks. I believe Thomas Massey is right. We need to get out of NATO. And if, Europe wants to commit suicide as a peoples, that's up to them. I mean, we really can't do anything for them. If this is what they want war to end their civilizations, and let the illegal invaders stay and just take over the land, well, that's on them, isn't it? It's suicide, but it's on them. And we should not even entertain something so stupid as going to war with Russia with NATO. And the idea that Macron, Starmer, and Merz are coming together to go behind Trump's back to bolster up Ukraine, to refuse peace, is another thing. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And by the way, the EU is just pouring more fuel on the fire. This is in the Associated Press as well. It said that the European Union on Friday indefinitely froze Russian assets in Europe to ensure that Hungary and Slovakia, both friendly with Moscow, can't prevent billions of euros from being used to support Ukraine. Here's the fuel on the fire. We're going to freeze your ass. Remember, they tried to put this in the 28-point plan. Russia will take the frozen assets we have of Russia's, and we'll give $100 billion to Ukraine. Putin's not going to allow that. He's not going to allow that. That's why they're sitting down and rewriting it. That's why he's sitting with Witkoff and Kushner, probably telling him what's what, by the way, and saying, no, we're not doing this. You're not going to steal our money and give it to Ukraine in a war that they began, by the way. Oh, I know all of you think it was Russia that started it, right? Oh, okay. Well, newsflash. The Maidan Revolution, ring a bell, 2014. The killing of ethnic Russians by the Azov Battalion in the Donbass, that ring any bells? Zelensky saying he's going to join NATO, that ring any bells? Yeah, I don't think so, folks. I don't think so. But they're using a special procedure now met for economic emergencies, and the EU now blocked the assets until Russia will give up its war with Ukraine and compensates its neighbor for the heavy damage that it has inflicted for almost 4 years. By the way, again, this war would have been over a month after this conflict started. If it wasn't for Boris Johnson and Joe Biden telling Ukraine that we'll fund you. We'll back you this whole time. You don't have to surrender. You have to go to a peace agreement. We'll keep it going. Yeah, how's that worked out for them? Not too good, by the way. Not too good. And now they're going to, freeze Russian assets? And they think that they're just going to stop the war and completely cede to their demands for Ukraine? And then they're going to give Ukraine money? They're dreaming. They're absolutely dreaming on this, I think. And by the way, it's getting really cold in Russia right now, and in Ukraine. It's going to be a very cold winter in Europe, despite, of course, the climate change, alarmism that plagues the European countries, of course. This is the Washington Times. Says Ukraine braces for blackouts as Russian strikes pound its energy infrastructure. Well, that's been happening. That's been happening for quite some time right now. And, of course, we have Russian barrages of missiles and drones attacking against Ukraine's energy infrastructure now, which has been intensifying, of course, in the days leading up to the end of the year, and especially the cold winter months that tend to follow it. Now, in recent weeks, there's been waves and waves of strikes that have pounded the power stations, the substations, the heating networks across the country, triggering blackouts on a scale that's not been seen since early 2024. So now we have the attacks that have now forced Kiev to lean onto energy emergency natural gas imports as engineers race to keep the lights on, and of course the heat on as well. Residents in the capital city have now described the explosions echoing for hours as air defense struggles to intercept the drones launched in swarms of dozens at a time. Do you think Europe is ready for this, by the way? That Europe is so hell-bent on going to war with Russia? Do you think they're ready for this, too? A resident of Kiev said we do our laundry at 2 a.m. or we go to work at our colleagues when we don't have to put the power on at home. This is how people in Ukraine are. They had enough of this. And they want to extend this war even longer. It's so absurd, folks. But it's going to get cold in Ukraine soon, folks. It's already cold. It's going to get colder. Are they ready for this? A winter with no heat? How's that going to go for them? Not too good, I can just assure you, by the way. And again, this is all Zelensky is doing. Oh, by the way, really quickly before we go, last segment. It says, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio now cast Venezuela as a regional platform for Iranian influence now, describing Nicolas Maduro's government as a narco-terrorist transit hub that hosts Iranians' Revolutionary Guards and its Lebanese ally Hezbollah. So now we've got to equate, of course, Iran and Hezbollah to Venezuela just in time so we can go and invade them. Yesterday's show, we discussed the illegal seizure of the oil tanker in the Caribbean. But what they're talking about here is, again, we're going to go to war with Venezuela. Which is odd because Trump ran as a peace candidate. He said on day one, we'll stop the war in Ukraine. By the time I get in office, the war with Gaza will be over with. Everyone clapped, everyone cheered. I did. We want this to end. We want the bloodshed to stop. We don't want to have fun in these foreign wars. And now we're talking about going to war with Venezuela? We're taking their oil now? Stealing it? Well, again, it's just preposterous. Rubio, speaking in a Fox News interview broadcast on Tuesday, said Iran, its IRGC, and even Hezbollah has a presence in South America. And it's one of their anchor presence, especially for the Iranians, is inside of Venezuela. Okay. He then added, we have planted their flag in our hemisphere. Oh, I'm sorry. Where they have planted their flag in our hemisphere is on Venezuelan territory with the full and open cooperation of that regime. Washington is now stepping up a counter-drug mission involving U.S. naval assets in the Caribbean and nearby waters. We know about that, which is also illegal. We're not at war with Venezuela yet. We're blowing up boats, allegedly, and again, it's always allegedly. It's never confirmed that these boats have drugs on them, or that they even come to the United States, by the way. But now Rubio has also said the administration used limited force to destroy Iranian nuclear sites earlier this year. Again, we were ready to have peace talks with them, and we blew up nuclear sites, which may or may not have destroyed their nuclear capacity. By the way, I doubt it probably did. We had aerial footage of many trucks leaving these sites, so you probably just blew up a bunch of concrete. Just wanted to tell you that as well. But he said the president conducted a precise campaign. It wasn't a prolonged war. It was a 24-hour operation. B-2 bombers left the mainland of the United States, came over a defined target, dropped the payload, 14 missiles or 14 rockets right into the holes of this facility. Yeah, okay, like I said, you blew up a bunch of concrete. That's what it came down to. You blew up a bunch of concrete on a nation that was going to give you everything it wanted, except that Israel attacked it first and destroyed the peace negotiations. But all this rhetoric, folks, just what this is obviously talking about how radical Islam has designs openly now on the West, on the United States, on Europe. Okay. So, what they're talking about now is going to war with Venezuela. Obviously, now it's going to be a massive threat. And are we ready for a war with Venezuela, folks? It's not going to be like Iraq. Lots of rainforest and whatnot, lots of shrubbery, trees. Are we ready for guerrilla warfare in Venezuela? It's not going to go well for us, folks. So I just thought I'd bring that up to you. We want peace, not more war. Folks, thank you again for being here today. I appreciate you so much. I hope you keep your house in order. Hope you're, storing up your food, water, ammo, gold, tools, anything you need to be self-sufficient. Change always starts in the home, folks. And by the way, all the articles will be posted with today's podcast. Share with some people. I appreciate you when you do that. I'll see you on Monday on the next Marco Dre Show. Until then, be good, stay busy. God bless.